All right, good morning. My name's Larry Disparti. Thank you all for being here. Today we filed a lawsuit on behalf of 4 brave young women, former students of Oswego High School, who were subjected to years of grooming, sexual harassment, and sexual abuse at the hands of a teacher and coach, who this individual was entrusted with their safety. These young women were minors at the time. They were students. They were children. This case is not just about the actions of this one individual. Our lawsuit details repeated warnings, documented concerns, as well as prior written discipline. Yet, the abuse continued. When institutions are placed on notice of predatory behavior involving children, they have a legal, but more importantly, a moral obligation to act decisively. And our lawsuit details that they did not in this case. We are seeking accountability, not only for what was done to these 4 young women, but also for the systemic failures of the institution that allowed this abuse to happen for years. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Cass Casper, the lead attorney on this case.
Thank you very much, Larry. Members of the media, thank you for being here today. As Larry just previewed, today we filed a lawsuit in the Circuit Court of Kendall County, Illinois, on behalf of the 4 courageous women who are present and behind us today. Kayla Sundstrom, Annie Fish, Jillian Lake, Natalie Grimm. These 4 brave young women endured years of grooming, sexual harassment, sexual abuse, manipulation by their former Oswego High School teacher and coach, Sean Staffelt, who is named as a co-defendant in this suit alongside Oswego. This case is about holding both Staffelt and Oswego School District 308 accountable for a pattern of predatory conduct that the district knew about but failed to stop that went on for years. The facts, as outlined in our complaint, are disturbing. Staffelt served as a physical education teacher and coach for football, wrestling, and track at Oswego High School for approximately 12 years. During those 12 years, he engaged in systematic grooming of female students, including these plaintiffs, through unwanted physical contact, sexually explicit comments, both in text, email, in person, all over the place, inappropriate email through his district email account, and calculated physical boundary violations designed to isolate and manipulate his young female victims who were also his students. This complaint extensively documents how Staffelt would select certain female students as his favorites. He would shower them with attention, create relationships of dependency and control that left these young women feeling unable to report his abuse and unable to escape it and having to endure it. What makes this case particularly egregious is that District 308 had actual knowledge of Staffelt's predatory behavior dating back years. In 2017, most notably but not alone, the district issued Staffelt a warning directing him to maintain professionalism and prohibiting him from touching and hugging students. But back prior to that, in around 2015, we know that there was a staff member who filed a report about Staffelt being overly touchy with a female student. That report came from a staff member, folks. The district did nothing. They didn't investigate. They did absolutely nothing with the 2015 staff member report. Not to be deterred, in 2016, another staff member reported that Staffelt was repeatedly slapping her buttocks, yet the district took no meaningful action. Despite all of these red flags and explicit warnings, and by the way, there's more instances of notice that the district had prior to 2015 outlined in the complaint. Despite all these red flags and warnings, the district allowed Staffelt to continue teaching and coaching with unfettered access to female students for years following. Now, it's true that when formal complaints finally came in January 2020, additional complaints, the district's investigation did undertake an investigation at that point, and Staffelt was placed on administrative leave and then ultimately had to resign. However, Throughout that investigation, instead of supporting the victims, such as Kayla Sundstrom and Jillian Lake, they pressured Kayla to finish her senior year online, to switch schools, and pulled her out of most of her classes. Well, Kayla was the victim here. And she can't finish her school year, her senior year in this school because of Staffeldt's abuse. Moreover, Jillian Lake was made to go into a room with no supporting measures and to talk about the abuse that Staffeldt exacted on her. After that was over, she was sent back to her class and given no support whatsoever, no counseling, no therapy, not even talks from administrative leaders. The lasting harm to these women is profound. They suffer from anxiety, trauma, heightened difficulty trusting others. Some have moved away from Oswego because they can't stand to go back. To them, going back to Oswego creates associations with the school where they were victims of predation, where they're objectified by this teacher and coach, where they were a male's play toy rather than young women who needed to be inspired and grown. Our objectives in this suit are clear. First, we seek full accountability and compensation for the harm that these women have suffered. Second, we demand systemic and cultural change. We want mandatory training on recognizing grooming behaviors, not just a policy with words on it. We want enforcement of mandatory reporting of grooming behavior. We want genuine support for victims, child victims who come forward and report this. Real protection requires more than public relations statements. It requires enforceable policies that prioritize student safety over institutional reputation. It requires cultural change. We seek that cultural change by sending the message with this lawsuit that this kind of behavior is unacceptable by teachers and school staff in Illinois. Finally, we know there are additional victims of teacher-coach Staffeldt. Social media posts from fall of this past year, 2025, revealed dozens of former students describing identical patterns of abuse, such as that the plaintiffs allege happened to them in this case. If you or someone you know experienced inappropriate conduct from Coach Staffeldt or any teacher at District 308, please come forward. If you have documents, communications, photographs, or you witnessed inappropriate conduct by Coach Staffeldt or other teachers, your information may be very important for these plaintiffs seeking justice. We have a special dedicated hotline for abuse victims and witnesses of abuse. It's 312-506-1235. That goes right to my team's phone system, and we return calls promptly. With that, I've said enough. I'm going to turn it over to one of the victims, Jillian Lake, who's going to make a few comments. Jillian?
Hi, my name is Jillian Lake, and I am one of the plaintiffs named in the lawsuit that we're moving forward with today. Oh, sorry. Out of everything that you may read, speculate, or make assumptions on throughout our stories, the one thing I feel that I need to emphasize is that a large reason we're standing in front of you today is for all of the children who, God forbid, have experienced or are currently experiencing something similar and are watching this or hearing our stories. We hope this makes you feel safe to come forward. We not only want to end the cycle of abuse that occurs within schools, but we also want to fight for school districts to implement and enforce trauma-informed practices that can help to prevent further traumatizing students who come forward. If you are a victim of abuse, even if you don't fully understand what's happening or has happened to you, you try to deny it and push it to the back of your mind, or you convince yourself that you're the crazy one, maybe it's normal and actually it isn't wrong, which is a feeling I know all too well. I need you to truly hear me when I say that if you feel uncomfortable or unsafe, then it is wrong and it is not normal. And there's absolutely no gray area. We hope that if you're out there and you're watching this, that you not only see, but you feel that you're not alone. And if you choose to come forward and speak up about your experience, you will have a community of support behind you. We know firsthand how terrifying it can be to speak out, but our voices matter, and your voice matters, and you're not alone. Thank you.
Thank you, Jillian. And we're now going to introduce Annie Fish for her statement.
Hi, my name is Anne-Marie Fish, and I am one of the plaintiffs named here today. We are here today because the district would not do its job to protect young women from a predator for over a decade. District 308, you were warned, you had opportunities, you chose silence, so we are choosing truth. We are refusing to let it be minimized. We are refusing to let it be forgotten. You protected a reputation. We are protecting students. You avoided accountability. We are demanding it. This is what courage looks like. This is what leadership looks like. And if you won't lead, we will.
Thank you very much, Annie and Jillian and Kayla and Natalie. With that, the suit has been filed this morning, and we're in the process of serving it on the district, which will be done expeditiously, and then the litigation will go from there. We'll update you from time to time as the story develops. And with that, I open the floor to any questions.
Just for the plaintiffs in the case, if you can tell us what it was like to go to school at the same time all this is going on. What was going through your mind? What were the difficulties you faced while you were in school?
Does anybody feel comfortable answering that? You want to talk about it? Okay. This is Jillian Lake.
It was incredibly hard. It was me having to put on a brave face every day, waking up in the morning, getting ready, driving the 5 minutes across the street in a community I've grown up in my entire life, a community that has been my family my entire life, and feeling as though if anyone found out it was me, I would be ostracized. I would have no place in the community anymore when it's all I've ever known. Going to school every day was terrifying, not only for the sheer fact of the teacher being at that school, but also the fact of anyone finding out that I had come forward in the first place. So that's the best word I could describe it. It's just absolutely terrifying and torturous.
Juliet or Anne-Marie, can you just tell us what it was like when you went to the school to report about him, and like what did they say to you? What was their reaction? And how many times did you actually go to the administration and report him?
So I think I'll handle that case. Our theory of the case on that is that there was an enormous amount of notice that this was going on because we know other staff members, not students, staff members were reporting this kind of behavior. So this is a situation where they had knowledge from staff members, not students, that he was engaging in this kind of behavior. In addition, we have information from other witnesses that this was like an open secret. Everybody knew about the quote-unquote touchy-feely Sean Staffelt, and he was allowed to get away with this behavior, we believe, just because people would minimize what he was really doing in that fashion. Any other questions?
Is it hard for you to believe that in this day and age where there is a heightened awareness of this kind of activity, that a school district would try to minimize, sweep under the rug, and protect the teacher?
That's one of the great puzzles of this situation, actually, because this happens between roughly 2011 up through 2020. This didn't happen in the 1980s. This didn't happen in the 1990s. By the time frame these allegations were going on, or these issues were going on, everybody knew you do not touch students, in particular, I mean at all, but in particular, as a male teacher, you do not touch female students, especially not in a sexual way. I mean, so the fact that this was allowed to go on this long and was minimized repeatedly by the district, frankly, it's outrageous. Other questions?
You mentioned the Facebook posts about similar activity with other people. Is that going to be part of your case, or are you looking for other victims who will come forward and perhaps join the class?
In September and fall 2025, discussion about Mr. Staffelt exploded on Facebook among these victims and others. And there was an enormous number of positive and favorable reactions from other students at the school reporting the same kind of thing. There was one post where a former student said something roughly like, "Oh, the same teacher who slapped my butt every day is, being accused of sexual harassment. What a surprise." So lots of feedback like that through social media, and that's one of the reasons we believe there's other victims out there, and we encourage them to come forward. Other questions?
So where do you guys go from here? Obviously, it was filed today. Have any dates set for, any other hearings or anything?
I don't have a judge assignment or a hearing date yet. I expect I'll have that probably today or very, very soon. And we'll have to provide further updates on that, but it will be available on the Kendall County website as well. And then the litigation starts. Although I will say, if the district wants to talk, we'll talk.
Have there been any criminal complaints filed?
This is another puzzling thing about this. Not to our knowledge. And we've explored that question, and still not to our knowledge. In fact, there was a DCFS investigation because some of these plaintiffs were interviewed by it. What came of it? We don't know. We checked into that. We still don't know. The plaintiffs don't know. And in the very last page of our complaint, there are screenshots that I put on yesterday of Mr. Stafffeld's teaching license. He's still licensed to teach in Illinois. It's been renewed. Do we want him teaching? Yes.
So DCFS did an investigation, but there was never a criminal investigation by the Kendall County State's Attorney's Office.
Not that we know of, and certainly not anything that led to anything, and not that the plaintiffs were ever interviewed for or know anything about.
That was my next question, if any of the plaintiffs had even been interviewed by the State's Attorney's Office.
There's your answer. They're all nodding. They're all shaking their head no.
I know you guys touched upon it. Would anyone, again, kind of talk a little bit about, what this has done to you personally in terms of anxiety, or just how you've been able to, live with this and what it's done to you guys?
Anybody? You want to do it? If you're comfortable. Go ahead. Go ahead. Natalie Grimm.
I have moved out of Oswego. I've avoided going to anything related to Oswego. My parents also moved because Sean Staffelt did live down the street from me, so every day I'd have to drive home and pass his house, and I don't know, I was terrified to go home every day, so we ended up moving out of Oswego. I also have been diagnosed with anxiety and depression due to this, so I still struggle every day dealing with this.
If you're comfortable sharing, what's the feeling or what went through your mind when you saw all these posts on Facebook and you learned that there had been other people that reported him to the school, but they seemed to do nothing?
You okay answering that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Honestly, it was, for other people to come forward, it was comforting that I knew I wasn't the only one because I thought I was, so it was hard to speak up at first about it. But then I knew, that we were all in this together, and it wasn't just me, which is terrible, but it was comforting that I could, have someone that experienced the same thing as me to help me through this. But it's also really frustrating that the district, hasn't reached out to any of us or said anything when we've made it publicly known, and they just say nothing.
Ladies, is there anything you'd like to say as kind of a message to others as a result of this utilizing them?
Anybody want to cover that? Go for it.
I would say that we still see things that are happening in the ST 308 community and decisions being made and, that aren't ethical. They aren't protecting children. They are prioritizing the popularity, the culture of the boys club. And as someone who's been a lifelong Oswego resident and who cares about our school district deeply, and I'm still involved in lots of their programs, I'm just very disappointed. I want to see a district take responsibility for its actions that have been happening for well over a decade. So I hope other women come forward and join us. I know many of my friends and many of, years and years, this was cyclical. So, yeah.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, there's a question from Eric at the Oswego Ledger. He said they have a copy of a federal lawsuit filed in 2017 against the coach along with Coach Andrew Cook. Do you know what happened to that lawsuit?
I'm aware of that lawsuit, but on the spot right now, I can't remember what happened to that lawsuit. I know it wasn't along the lines of what we are filing here. I can get more information after the press conference. Any other questions? Okay, thank you all for being here. Appreciate your turning out, and we'll keep you updated in due course.